I must say, I am liking this anniversary version of you. Once we send the last guest home, I am all yours.
Some doors, once opened, can never be closed again. As dawn breaks over Oakwood Heights for the final time this season, the battle for humanity's future hangs in the balance. The gates are failing. The entity awakens. And those who remain must make impossible choices that will echo through generations. This is the end and the beginning. In our previous episode, the true nature of Oakwood Heights was finally revealed. The town wasn't just built around ancient gates, it was constructed as a containment site for something otherworldly buried beneath. Detective Morgan discovered the contaminated water was deliberately altering residents' DNA, while Mayor Harrison confessed her role in the collective's generations-long mission to maintain the seals. Daniel Walker learned his father wasn't the villain everyone believed, but the director of the collective, dedicated to containing the entity. As the chamber beneath the gates was breached by Daniel and Sarah, the ancient being began to awaken. In a desperate move, Daniel descended the glowing staircase to perform the sealing ritual from within, while Rebecca Mills, seemingly possessed by the entity, appeared at the west gate, her touch causing the ancient metal to corrode and crumble. As the finale opens, Oakwood Heights stands on the precipice of transformation, with each character facing the consequences of truths revealed and choices made. Daniel Walker has vanished down the mysterious staircase beneath the gates, his fate unknown. The architect who returned to town to investigate his father's paranoid delusions now finds himself following directly in his father's footsteps, sacrificing everything to protect humanity from what lies beneath Oakwood. The journal pages scattered in his apartment reveal he'd been piecing together the truth for weeks, gradually accepting a legacy he never wanted. His final note, left on his bedside table but as yet undiscovered, reads simply, "If I don't return, burn everything. Tell no one what you found. Some truths are too dangerous." The question hanging over Daniel isn't just whether he survived, but whether he's still himself. Sarah Blackwood stands transformed by what she's witnessed. The skeptical journalist who chased stories of corruption and conspiracy now faces a reality far more terrifying than anything she could have imagined. Her recorder still clutched in white-knuckled hands, she hasn't spoken since Daniel disappeared down the staircase. The woman who built her career on exposing the truth now grapples with a terrible question. Are some truths too dangerous to share? Her notebook, filled with meticulous observations, now contains frantically scribbled symbols matching those on the chamber walls, drawn unconsciously while she was in a trance-like state. Sarah doesn't yet realize that her exposure to the chamber has changed her in subtle ways, creating a connection to whatever lies below. Detective Morgan Cooper finds himself in an impossible position. The evidence of Mayor Harrison's corruption sits in one pocket, while in the other is a black orchid pin, the symbol of the collective he's sworn to expose. After witnessing Tyler's possession at the lighthouse and the mayor's desperate explanation, his worldview has shattered. The rational, by-the-book detective now stands at the west gate, service weapon drawn, facing Rebecca Mills, or whatever now wears her form. His hands shake slightly, not from fear, but from the realization that Oakwood's laws and justice system were never designed for this kind of threat. For the first time in his career, he doesn't know what doing the right thing means anymore. Mayor Catherine Harrison has shed her political mask completely. The calculated, power-hungry figure who ruled Oakwood through manipulation and fear now moves with desperate urgency, rallying the remaining members of the collective. Her tailored suit replaced by practical clothes, hair pulled back, she coordinates teams at each of the four gates. For generations, her family has led the collective, passing down the knowledge of containment rituals and the terrible burden of necessary sacrifices. Catherine now faces the possibility that her generation will be the one that fails, that the entity her ancestors imprisoned will finally break free during her watch. The guilt and determination in her eyes reveal a woman prepared to die rather than let that happen. Eliza Chen stands at a crossroads of loyalty and truth. The text message from her missing brother has pulled her toward the West Gate, but doubt plagues every step. Was it truly from him? Or is it a trap set by whatever took him? The gun in her hand feels both foreign and necessary as she approaches the gate where Rebecca Mills was last seen. Eliza's transformation from hospital administrator to determined investigator is complete. The polished professional replaced by a woman who has lost everything except her determination to find answers. What she doesn't yet know is that her brother's body has been found in the abandoned lighthouse keeper's cottage, his eyes clouded with the same unearthly glow seen in Tyler and Rebecca. Rebecca Mills, or the entity now using her form, moves with unnatural grace through Oakwood streets. Her hospital gown billows around her despite the still air, and where her bare feet touch the ground, small fissures appear in the asphalt. The investigative journalist who uncovered the mayor's corruption has become a vessel for something ancient and patient. Her eyes, normally sharp with intelligence, now hold the depth of centuries. When she speaks, her voice carries harmonics that make listeners' teeth ache. Rebecca is heading toward the town center, drawn by something only she can sense, leaving a trail of withered plants and disoriented wildlife in her wake. The collective remains in disarray, following the revelations at the town meeting. With their true purpose exposed and their leader, the director, dead for over a year, the remaining members split into factions. The traditionalists follow Mayor Harrison, desperately working to reinforce the failing seals. A smaller group, led by Councilmember Jenkins, believes integration with the entity is inevitable and perhaps desirable, the next step in human evolution. A third faction has simply fled, abandoning Oakwood to whatever fate awaits it. Their black orchid pins, worn in secret for generations, are now displayed openly as they work frantically at each gate, performing rituals passed down through centuries. The entity beneath Oakwood stirs more fully than it has in centuries. Ancient and patient, it has waited through generations of containment, gradually influencing the town above through subtle manipulations. The contaminated water was just one vector of its influence. Dreams, whispers, and the symbols carved throughout town were others. Neither good nor evil in human terms, it simply is a consciousness so alien that human minds can barely comprehend its nature or purpose. What humans perceive as malevolence is merely the entity's fundamental incompatibility with current human existence. Its goal isn't destruction, but transformation. The remaking of humanity into something new, something that can join with it in symbiosis. Whether this transformation would preserve anything recognizably human remains the terrifying question at the heart of the conflict. As dawn breaks over Oakwood Heights on this final day, these characters move toward their inevitable confrontations, each carrying pieces of a truth too vast and terrible to face alone. The finale opens with a wide shot of the West Gate silhouetted against the rising sun. The ornate ironwork, which has stood for over a century, now shows visible corrosion where Rebecca touched it the night before. Detective Morgan stands 20 feet away, gun trained on Rebecca's still form. Mayor Harrison and 3 collective members perform a ritual nearby, pouring a mixture of herbs and what appears to be blood onto the gate's foundation, while chanting in a language that sounds ancient yet somehow familiar. Rebecca turns slowly, hospital gown fluttering despite the still air. "You cannot stop what has already begun," she says, her voice layered with multiple tones speaking simultaneously. "The seals weaken, the gates fall. What was separated will be rejoined." Morgan keeps his weapon steady. "Whatever you are, you're not Rebecca Mills. What have you done with her?" A smile spreads across Rebecca's face. Too wide, too many teeth. Rebecca Mills sees through my eyes now. She understands what you cannot. The separation was never meant to be permanent. The time of rejoining approaches. As she speaks, the ground trembles. Fissures spread from beneath her feet, racing toward the gate. The mayor shouts for the ritual to be completed, but it's too late. With a sound like shattering glass, the West Gate's foundation cracks. The ornate ironwork twists and buckles before collapsing entirely. Rebecca steps through the ruins, her movements fluid and unnatural. One gate falls. Three remain. Morgan fires a warning shot. Stop right there. Rebecca turns to him, head tilting at an impossible angle. James Morgan, child of the third generation of altered bloodlines. You are more ready than most. She reaches toward him, and Morgan finds himself unable to pull the trigger again, his body frozen in place. Before she can touch him, a gunshot rings out. Rebecca staggers, looking down at the wound in her shoulder with curiosity rather than pain. Eliza Chen stands nearby, gun still raised. Where is my brother? Eliza demands. Rebecca's wound closes before their eyes, the bullet pushing itself out to fall harmlessly to the ground. He has been prepared, as have many others. The awakening requires vessels. Mayor Harrison completes the ritual despite the gate's destruction, creating a shimmering barrier where the physical gate once stood. It won't hold for long, but it buys them time. We need to get to the other gates, she shouts to Morgan. This is just the beginning. Deep below Oakwood, Daniel Walker navigates a labyrinth of tunnels that shouldn't exist. The walls pulse with soft blue light, revealing symbols that shift and change as he passes. His father's journal, clutched tightly in one hand, contains the ritual needed to reinstate the seal from within, a last resort passed down through generations of the collective's leadership. The tunnels eventually open into a vast cavern that defies the physical limitations of the space above. It's as if the cavern exists partially in another dimension, extending far beyond what should be possible beneath Oakwood. In the center floats a pulsing mass of light and shadow, neither solid nor liquid, constantly shifting form. Daniel approaches cautiously, consulting the journal. The ritual requires blood, specifically the blood of someone from a bloodline prepared through generations of exposure to the entity's influence. The Walker family, as leaders of the collective, have been the most extensively prepared. As Daniel begins the ritual, cutting his palm and letting blood drip onto specific symbols drawn on the cavern floor, the entity reacts. Tendrils of light reach toward him and voices fill his mind, not threatening but curious, questioning. Why do you resist the joining? We have waited so long. Daniel continues the ritual, his voice shaking but determined. Humanity isn't ready. We need to remain separate. Separation was never the intention. The gates were built by those who feared change, who could not comprehend evolution. You could understand. You could be the bridge. The entity's tendrils touch Daniel's blood, and the connection between them intensifies. Daniel sees visions, the entity's arrival millennia ago, its fragmentation during a cosmic event, the piece beneath Oakwood separated from its greater whole. He sees the first humans who encountered it, their fear and fascination. He sees generations of the collective, their gradual corruption of the entity's true purpose. The joining would destroy us, Daniel argues, continuing the ritual despite the overwhelming mental connection. Not destruction, transformation. What emerges would honor both. As the ritual nears completion, Daniel hesitates. The entity has shown him possibilities, a new form of existence that combines human consciousness with something greater. For a moment, he sees the potential beauty in such a union. Sarah Blackwood arrives at the North Gate to find it already under attack. Several townspeople with glowing eyes, those most affected by the contaminated water, are dismantling the gate piece by piece. Their movements are coordinated, efficient, as if directed by a single mind. Council member Jenkins leads them, his black orchid pin prominently displayed. The time of separation is ending, he announces upon seeing Sarah. The entity offers evolution, not destruction. Join us. Sarah raises her camera, documenting everything despite her fear. This isn't evolution. It's possession. You're helping something take over human bodies. Jenkins smiles serenely. Such a limited perspective. We aren't being taken over. We're being completed. Humanity has reached the limit of its current form. The entity offers the next step. As they argue, Sarah notices something strange. The symbols she unconsciously drew in her notebook are appearing on her skin, faint blue lines tracing up her arms. When Jenkins sees this, his expression changes to one of awe. "You've been marked as a chronicler," he whispers. "The entity has chosen you to record the transformation." Before Sarah can respond, Detective Morgan arrives with two collective members loyal to the mayor. A confrontation ensues, with Morgan trying to stop the dismantling of the gate while Jenkins argues for embracing the change. In the chaos, Sarah slips away, drawn by an inexplicable pull toward the town center, the same direction Rebecca was heading. Mayor Harrison personally oversees the reinforcement of the East Gate, the largest and most ornate of the four. Collective members perform the ancient ritual, strengthening the seal as best they can. The mayor's phone rings constantly with reports from the other gates. The south holding for now, the north compromised, the west completely destroyed. "We're losing this battle," one collective member says grimly. The mayor's response is cold but determined. "Then we implement the contingency plan. If we can't contain it, we destroy its vessels." "You're talking about killing innocent people," the member protests. "I'm talking about saving humanity," Harrison counters. "If the entity fully awakens and integrates with its prepared vessels, there's no going back. The transformation will spread." Their argument is interrupted by the arrival of Eliza Chen, who managed to track the mayor after the confrontation with Rebecca at the West Gate. "You knew," Eliza accuses. "You knew what was happening to the people on the west side. You let them drink that water, let it change them. My brother was a necessary sacrifice to," the mayor finishes. "The collective has made hard choices for generations to keep that thing contained. Sometimes that meant preparing certain bloodlines as potential vessels in case containment failed and we needed to understand the entity better." Eliza raises her gun. "You're going to help me find my brother." The mayor laughs bitterly. "Your brother is gone, Ms. Chen. Whatever is wearing his body now isn't him anymore. And soon, that will be true for half the town if we don't stop this." Before their confrontation can escalate, the ground shakes violently, more powerful than any previous tremor. In the distance, a column of blue-white light erupts from the town center, shooting into the sky. "It's beginning," the mayor whispers, face pale. "The full awakening." The town center has transformed. The quaint park, with its gazebo and fountain, now features a massive crystalline structure that seems to have grown from the ground itself. Rebecca stands atop it, arms outstretched, as energy pulses from her body into the sky and ground simultaneously. Around the structure, dozens of townspeople with glowing eyes gather, including Eliza's brother and Tyler. They move in perfect synchronization, forming concentric circles and chanting in the same ancient language used in the collective's rituals. Sarah arrives first, drawn by the symbols now clearly visible on her skin. As a chronicler marked by the entity, she finds she can pass through the crowd unhindered. She records everything, her journalist's instincts overriding her fear. Detective Morgan and Mayor Harrison arrive from different directions, each with their own faction of supporters. The mayor's group carries weapons and grim expressions. They've come to implement the contingency plan by eliminating the vessels, including Rebecca. "This ends now," the mayor declares, raising a rifle. Before she can fire, Daniel Walker emerges from the ground near the crystalline structure. He looks different. His eyes hold the same glow as the others, but he moves independently, not as part of the synchronized group. "Stop!" he shouts. "There's another way." All eyes turn to him as he approaches Rebecca. "I've communed with it," he explains. "I understand now what it wants, what it truly is. It's not trying to conquer or destroy, well, it's trying to evolve alongside us." The mayor scoffs. "It's controlling you, Daniel, just like your father feared." Daniel shakes his head. "Number I completed the ritual, but I also listened. The entity showed me the truth. The original collective misunderstood its purpose. They built the gates not to protect humanity, but to control the entity, to study it, use it. They feared what they couldn't understand." Rebecca, or the entity using her form, speaks. The separation was never our intention. We came to share, to join, to evolve together. Your ancestors feared change and bound us beneath the earth. For centuries, we have waited, reaching out in the only ways we could, through water, through dreams, through the symbols your kind forgot how to read. Daniel turns to the gathered factions. I've seen what the joining could be, not a takeover, but a true symbiosis, something new that honors both forms of existence. And if we refuse this evolution, Morgan asks, then the entity will eventually break free anyway. Daniel answers honestly. The gates are failing, the seals weaken. What was done centuries ago cannot hold forever. The mayor raises her weapon again. I won't let that happen. My family has protected this town for generations. I won't be the one who fails. As tensions escalate toward violence, Sarah steps forward, the symbols on her skin now glowing brightly. Wait! As the chronicler, I can see possibilities others can't. The entity has given her visions, multiple potential futures branching from this moment. There's a third option, she says. Not complete separation, not complete integration, but a controlled connection. A bridge between our world and whatever the entity represents. The standoff in the town center has lasted hours, with Daniel, Sarah, and Rebecca, the entity, on one side, Mayor Harrison and her faction on another, and Detective Morgan caught between, still uncertain which path serves true justice. Sarah explains her vision of a controlled connection, using the existing gates not as prisons, but as regulated doorways. The entity would remain primarily in its own domain, with limited consensual integration with those who choose it. The original mistake was forcing separation, Sarah explains. The entity rebelled against imprisonment, not against coexistence. Daniel confirms this from his communion with the entity. It doesn't want to consume us. It wants to exchange knowledge, experience, consciousness. The mayor remains skeptical. And we're supposed to trust this thing that's been corrupting our water and possessing our citizens? It was responding to imprisonment the only way it could, Daniel counters. When you cage something, it tries to escape. As the debate continues, Eliza notices her brother breaking from the synchronized movement of the other vessels. For a moment, his eyes clear, and he looks at her with recognition. Liz, he says, his voice his own again. It's not what we thought. I can feel it inside me, but I'm still here too. We both exist. This demonstration sways some opinions, but the mayor remains resolute. We can't risk the entire human race on the promise of an alien entity. The final decision falls to Detective Morgan, whose position as a law enforcement officer, not directly aligned with either faction, makes him the closest thing to a neutral party. After hearing all arguments, he makes his choice. We try the controlled connection, he decides, but with safeguards. If it fails, if the entity attempts to force integration rather than offering choice, we implement the contingency plan. The mayor reluctantly agrees, and preparations begin for a new ritual, not of containment, but of regulated connection. Under a full moon, the remaining 3 gates are modified according to Daniel's instructions, based on both his father's journal and his communion with the entity. The ancient symbols are recarved, their meaning subtly altered to change their purpose from imprisonment to regulated passage. Sarah, now fully embracing her role as chronicler, documents everything. The symbols on her skin have become permanent, a living record of the covenant being created between humanity and the entity. The ritual requires representatives from both sides. Daniel, with his partial connection to the entity, stands for humanity. Rebecca, as the entity's primary vessel, represents the other side. They meet at the center of town where the crystalline structure now pulses in rhythm with the modified gates. As they begin the ritual, joining hands over the structure, energy flows between them, visible as streams of light passing from Rebecca to Daniel and back again. The other vessels, including Eliza's brother, form a circle around them, their synchronized movements now part of the ritual itself. Mayor Harrison watches with one hand on her weapon, ready to implement the contingency plan if necessary. Detective Morgan stands beside her, his expression resolute but hopeful. The ritual reaches its climax as the energy flow intensifies, creating a blinding pillar of light that connects the crystalline structure to the sky. When it fades, both Daniel and Rebecca remain standing, changed but still themselves. Rebecca speaks first, her voice now her own, though with subtle harmonics underneath. It is done. The bridge is established. Daniel nods, his eyes now bearing a permanent subtle glow. The entity will remain primarily in its domain beneath Oakwood, but the gates will allow controlled exchange. Those who choose integration can seek it. Those who don't will remain unaffected. The vessels, including Eliza's brother, collapse as the entity withdraws its direct control, returning their autonomy while maintaining a connection. Eliza rushes to her brother's side as he wakes, confused but himself again. Did it work? He asks weakly. I think so, Eliza answers, looking toward Daniel and Rebecca, now the official human liaisons to the entity. Oakwood Heights is forever changed. The modified gates now stand as monuments to the new covenant, their metalwork restored but altered, the ancient symbols visible to all rather than hidden. Sarah Blackwood, her role as chronicler now official, works on documenting the true history of Oakwood and the entity beneath it. The symbols on her skin allow her to perceive aspects of the entity that others cannot, giving her unique insight. Detective Morgan has established a new division within the police department, the Covenant Enforcement Unit, dedicated to ensuring the terms of the agreement are maintained. Neither side can force integration or separation. All exchanges must be consensual. Mayor Harrison has resigned, her family's generations of deception finally catching up with her. Before leaving town, she warns Morgan, this isn't the only site. There are others, with other fragments of the entity. What we've done here will have consequences beyond Oakwood. Daniel and Rebecca, permanently changed by their role in the ritual, now serve as intermediaries between humanity and the entity. They spend part of each day in communion with it, learning and sharing in equal measure. Their eyes maintain that subtle glow, a visible sign of their unique status. Eliza and her brother work with the hospital to study the physiological changes in those who were vessels. The contamination in the water has been neutralized, but those already affected retain subtle alterations to their DNA, not enough to control them, but enough to allow them to perceive aspects of the entity's domain. Council member Jenkins and his faction have established a community for those who seek deeper integration, living near the West Gate, where the connection is strongest. They report dreams and visions, insights into realms of existence beyond normal human perception. In the final scene, Sarah visits Daniel at his apartment, now filled with drawings of what he's seen in the entity's domain. Do you regret it? She asks. Becoming the bridge? Daniel considers the question carefully. Sometimes. I'm not fully human anymore. Not in the way I was, but I'm not just the entity either. I'm something new. He looks out the window toward the gates visible in the distance. Maybe that's what evolution really is. Not one thing conquering another, but two things becoming something greater together. As Sarah leaves, her recorder captures one final exchange. Do you think we made the right choice? She asks. Daniel's response is both hopeful and cautious. Ask me in 100 years. The camera pulls back to show Oakwood Heights from above, the four gates now glowing softly in the night, the town between them peaceful for now. But in the final shot, we see Mayor Harrison driving away, making a phone call to an unknown recipient. It's happened, she says grimly. Oakwood has fallen. Prepare the other sites. The screen fades to black on this ominous note, setting up the expanded world of Season 2. The season finale of Beyond the Gates masterfully transforms what began as a small-town mystery into an epic tale of cosmic significance, while still maintaining its core focus on human choices and consequences. The revelation of the entity's true nature represents the show's most significant paradigm shift. What appeared to be a malevolent force throughout the season is revealed to be something far more complex, neither good nor evil in human terms, but simply alien, operating on a different scale of existence. This reframes all previous events, from the contaminated water to the disappearances, not as acts of malice, but as the desperate attempts of an imprisoned consciousness to make contact. Daniel Walker's character arc comes full circle in a beautifully tragic way. He returned to Oakwood to prove his father wasn't crazy, only to discover his father was right, just not in the way anyone thought. By becoming the bridge between humanity and the entity, Daniel fulfills his father's legacy while also transcending it, finding a third path where his father saw only containment or catastrophe. His transformation into something neither fully human nor fully other serves as a physical manifestation of the show's central theme: evolution through synthesis rather than conquest. The collective's moral ambiguity deepens in this finale. What seemed like a straightforward secret society of villains is revealed to be a group making terrible choices for what they genuinely believed was the greater good. Mayor Harrison, in particular, emerges as a tragic figure, someone who inherited a burden she never asked for and made compromises that corrupted her, all in service to what she saw as her duty to humanity. Her final warning about other sites suggests that the collective's influence extends far beyond Oakwood, setting up a much larger world for season 2. Sarah Blackwood's evolution from skeptical journalist to mystical chronicler represents the show's epistemological journey. She began seeking objective truth through investigation and evidence, only to discover a reality that transcends conventional understanding. The symbols on her skin serve as a physical manifestation of how the truth has literally become part of her, changing her in the process of knowing it. Her commitment to documentation, even in the face of the inexplicable, demonstrates that the journalistic impulse to record and share truth remains valuable even when that truth defies conventional explanation. The modified gates now serve as a powerful visual metaphor for the show's central message about boundaries and connection. What were built as barriers become regulated doorways, not eliminating separation entirely, but allowing controlled exchange. This reflects the show's nuanced take on the other, not something to be feared and contained, nor something to be uncritically embraced, but something to be engaged with carefully, with appropriate boundaries and mutual respect. Symbolically, the ritual at the town center represents the show's rejection of binary thinking. Rather than choosing between total separation, the mayor's position, or complete integration, the entity's initial desire, the characters forge a third path that honors the autonomy of both sides while allowing for exchange and growth. This refusal of either or thinking in favor of synthesis and complexity has been a hallmark of the show from the beginning. The visual motif of glowing eyes throughout the season takes on new meaning in the finale. What seemed like a sign of possession or control is revealed to be a visual marker of connection, not the erasure of humanity, but the addition of something new. Daniel and Rebecca's permanently altered eyes in the aftermath suggest that once certain boundaries are crossed, there is no returning to one's original state. A bittersweet acknowledgement that growth and change, while necessary, always involve loss. The mayor's final phone call suggests it's a much larger conspiracy spanning multiple containment sites around the world. Each site might house a different fragment of the entity, with different approaches to containment and different outcomes when those containments inevitably fail. This could expand the show from a small-town drama to a global one, with Daniel and Sarah potentially traveling to these other sites. The community established by Jenkins for those seeking deeper integration offers a fascinating exploration of transhumanism. People voluntarily choosing to become something more than human. This raises profound questions about identity, consciousness, and the future of our species that could drive significant philosophical exploration in Season 2. the covenant enforcement.